Hello, welcome or welcome back. My name is Ari and let's talk March arcs. So, as usual, I've got 3 arcs to read this month and I'm kind of excited about all of them. They're all 3 by authors I've never read before. No, I take that back. One of them is an author I've read before, but I've only read a novella by him, and then the other 2 are authors that I've never read before. So let's just jump into it. The first book I have is Until the Last of Me by Sylvain Nouvelle. This is the second book in the series. The first book is a history of what comes next. And I haven't read the first book yet. I meant to do that in February, but it will be the very first book that I read in March. But yes, I have the second book, and I haven't read the first one yet. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that. But Until the Last of Me, I don't know what it's about, because I haven't read the first book yet. But the first book is basically about these women who have like rules for their lives that have been passed down from their ancestors, and one of them is take them to the stars or something like that. And I believe that the plot of this book is these women are trying to get humanity to flee an evil, but they need to like flee Earth. And yeah, I don't know if these are like aliens, kind of like the Eternals, or if this is just human women that have been passing this down mother to daughter. And they're also being chased by like the hunter or something like that. So yeah, sounds sci-fi, but also sounds historical. I think this is set like around World War II and then like the space race afterwards. So we'll see. And yeah, I'll be able to give you more information about Until the Last of Me once I get to that book. The next book I have is Tell Me an Ending by Joe Harkin, and this one was kind of one of my cover picks. Like, tell me that this cover isn't gorgeous. Like, you can't, because that cover is gorgeous. I'm gonna move over so we can get that. Move over so we can get more space for these book covers. I don't know a whole lot about this one, and I've never read from the author, but this is a dystopian, and I love dystopians, and it's about like a tech company deleting unwanted memories, and we obviously know that that's going to go wrong somehow. This one's a pretty decently long book, but like I said, I like dystopians, and the cover on this is fantastic, so I'm hesitantly excited for this. And then the third one is the Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He's a very prolific writer. I just never actually said his last name out loud before, or heard anybody say it, so I'm a little unsure on that pronunciation, but let me know if I said it wrong. Now, my boyfriend informed me of this yesterday, and I didn't realize this until yesterday, but a kaiju is like Godzilla. So this is a sci-fi about an animal preservation society that preserves the lives of like Godzilla-like animals. Tell me that doesn't sound fantastic. Like, I thought kaiju was a word that this author had made up, but no, apparently that's what the Godzilla monsters are called. I'm sorry about my tongue. So yeah, I'm super excited for this one. because I did not expect to read a Godzilla book this month. Anyway, those are the 3 books I'm reading. I will check back in with you whenever I finish one of them. Hello, I'm here to interrupt your regularly scheduled book review because I have a problem. I made an awful decision and I went to the grocery store hungry. I know, the awful idea. I get it. But while I was at the grocery store, I kept seeing like these really weird products, just like, who asked for that? And so I got some. And so in between the book reviews on this video, I'm gonna try weird products I randomly picked up at the grocery store. The first thing, this one's, at least in my opinion, might be the tamest on here. But did you guys know Coca-Cola made coffee? So I have here a Coca-Cola with coffee, 0 sugar, and it's vanilla flavored. So it's a vanilla Coke with coffee in it. It says great Coca-Cola taste blended with rich, luxurious coffee. Why would you mix Coke and coffee? I have no idea. What does this taste like? I also have no idea. So I'm a little bit scared, but let's try it. Okay, on initial sip, it just, like, you get nothing but, like, the Coke Zero taste. But as it sets in your mouth, you can taste the coffee and, like, the vanilla. But it's, like, what is the word? Like, chemically. Like, have you ever had, like, really, really cheap coffee with really, really crappy powdered creamer that just doesn't taste like coffee or creamer? It tastes like chemicals. Maybe somebody bleached your coffee. That's kind of what the aftertaste of this tastes like. But really up front, all you get is Coke Zero. So this is, like, the weirdest combination of things. I don't like it. I finished the Kaiju Preservation Society, and this book is fantastic. just straight up fantastic. Basically, this follows a woman who is working for a startup at the beginning of the pandemic in, like, March of 2020, and her boss is an asshat and he just lays her off. But when she gets home, all 3 of her roommates have been laid off because they all work in theater, and obviously everything's shutting down for the pandemic because this is New York City. And so she ends up doing food delivery in order to pay the rent so they all can stay together, not have to leave New York, not have to move back in with parents or anything like that. And while she's doing food delivery, she runs into an old acquaintance who happens to need somebody on this job. And the qualifications aren't much. You have to, like, want to work with big animals or want to work around big animals, sign some NDAs because, like, the project's top secret, because, you know, like, poachers and stuff, you want to keep working with large endangered animals a secret, and you have to, like, be gone for 6 months of the year. Her job would just be, like, she calls it lifting things, right? So fairly simplistic. She doesn't really know where she's going, but this job came from somebody she knows, pays a whole hell of a lot of money and has great benefits. Like one of the benefits is they like pay your rent. So she's making $125,000 a year on top of them paying her rent in New York and student loans. She also has a master's degree and they're paying off her student loans. So it's one of those jobs that sounds like way too good to be true. And if a friend didn't tell you about it, you'd probably be like, this is a scam, no thank you. But there's a lot of secrecy around it. And when she gets to this place, she realizes that they're crossing into a new dimension, and the animals that they're protecting are kaiju. And if you were like me and didn't know what the F a kaiju was, that's like Godzilla. Like all the Godzilla monsters are kaiju. The plot is okay. It's readable. It's not like a mind-blowing, this is the best plot I've ever read. But it's also like not bad. It's not like mind-blowing, this is the best plot I've ever read, but it's not a bad plot by any means. But the absolute best part about this book is the humor, the characters. This is a hugely character-driven, like, short novel. It's a little too long to be a novella because it's about 300 pages. Short novel, but it is hilarious. Like, I was laughing out loud and reading lines to my boyfriend like the whole time. This is just my kind of humor. It's hilarious and it's short. So I definitely recommend this for people. I would say this would make a very good like palate cleanser if you've just read like a really long, serious book. Jumping into this, highly, highly, highly recommend. All right, so we're back trying weird foods. And this time we're actually gonna do a food. So I'm gonna alternate drink, food, drink, food. So, food. This one is kind of what started this whole idea. I bought this a little while ago because it's weird. It is a Reese's with potato chips. This was by itself in the checkout of Walmart. I've never seen one of these since then or before then, so I don't know how easy these are to find. I'm not exactly looking for them. But yeah, it's a Reese's peanut butter cup with potato chips in it, which is probably pretty good. It's just a salty Reese's. It's going to bring out the flavor of the peanut butter and the flavor of the chocolate with all of the salt, and then add a little bit of crunch because of the potato chip. But like the potato itself, you're not going to be able to taste. So my guess is this is probably pretty good, but it's weird. Come on, it's a little weird. Alright, so the verdict on this. First impression is it's very crunchy. So that's just like a textile thing. If you don't like crunchy peanut butter, you're definitely going to like this. The added potato chips and the salt does change the taste of the Reese's peanut butter that's in here. And I don't know if I particularly like it. Like, if you were to say, do you want this or just a regular Reese's? I 100% just want a regular Reese's, but I don't like dislike this. It's not something that I'm gonna spit out and be like, oh my gosh, that's super gross and offensive. Would I eat it? Yes. Would I still prefer a regular Reese's? Absolutely yes. Alright, Until the Last of Me by Sylvain Neuvel covers right here. This is the second book in the Take Them to the Stars series, and to be honest, I read the first book this month as well, which was The History of What Comes Next. So, how this works is this is really like a sci-fi series that is firmly based on like real actual history. Book one follows two characters, a mother and daughter character, through the space race, and then book two is going to be like after the space race, like the next generation after. So the daughter of the first book is now the mother in the second book. And their big event that they really follow, even though there's a lot of events that they follow, is Voyager 2's trip to like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So the really cool thing about these books is they're historical. It's alternate history, but the history doesn't really actually change. There's just like a sci-fi element to it. And the sci-fi element itself is really cool, where basically 100 generations ago, a man and woman came to Earth from an alien civilization, and basically the women that we follow are these aliens, and instead of like mother daughter, like the daughter's a completely different person than the mother, it's really like genetic duplication, where the mother has the exact same, or where the daughter has the exact same genes as her mother. It's the exact same person, sans memories, but the women find a man, get pregnant, give birth to a daughter that is 100% duplicate of them, and then the man that came to the planet does the same. And the entire time that they've been here, these 100 generations, they've had a mission, but you have to think about, like, there's always something going to be lost, and that's the case with this, is the women's goal is to take them to the stars. That's the quote that they have. That's the only thing that they know, and that's their goal. And so they're trying to advance human civilization to get humans off the planet, because something evil is coming for humanity. They don't know how long they have. They're just trying to like push humanity to get off Earth and out into the stars as quickly as possible. And you have to imagine that this has been a lot of work, considering they started this 100 generations before the space race. So it's been a minute. But like, why don't they have this like perfect understanding of what they're supposed to do? Well, at some point, within the first few generations, all of this information has been lost to them. The man and the woman broke off from each other, and the man is the hunter, the woman is the hunted. He is trying to kill her, and so she has all of these rules where she has to like stay hidden. She's in the background of all of these things that she's trying to study, and she's trying to stay away from this man who is hunting her across the generations as well. What that plot line does is makes it where the alternate history part is that she is in the background of all of this historical things throughout time, like way long throughout time. And it's really cool, and a really good way to learn some history that you may not be familiar with. I want to say that Sylvain Neuvel's writing is immaculate. If you're a big fan of like Kazu Ishiguro's writing or Becky Chambers' writing, and you like that like wholesome feel but with a good story, I really think you'll like this series by Sylvain Neuvel, just because the writing is so beautiful and it makes you feel so good, even with like conflict and stuff going on in the background of the story. So I'm excited for the third book to come out, even though the second book literally hasn't come out yet. Oh, that's gonna be fun. Wait. But yeah, this was amazing, fantastic, immaculate, like everything I want, and I highly recommend if you're a sci-fi fan. Alright, for this section of trying weird food and drinks, I got a twofer for you. Do you ever wondered what outer space tastes like? Well, apparently Coke Starlight is going to tell you. It's space flavored. It says, I don't know if you can see this, it says it's space flavored. Coca-Cola Starlight. I got these little mini cans. What does space taste like? Well, let's find out. I'm sure it's absolutely disgusting. You also get a chance for me to badly describe the flavor of things. Apparently space tastes like nothing. Like, I get like the barest hint of Coke. Like just regular Coca-Cola. Like, it smells like Coke in my mind. Like, my mouth wants to say it tastes like Coke, but it doesn't taste like anything. That's weird. It tastes like nothing in carbonated bubbles, but it doesn't taste like nothing in a way that like water tastes like nothing. Like, water tastes like water. This tastes like nothing. I'm so confused. I don't like this. Does it make sense for space to taste like nothing? Yes, it does. I can't tell you if that's good or bad. It tastes like absence. It tastes like you should know it tastes like something, but it doesn't. My brain. Okay, let's move on to the food. And this one's weird, but not as weird as far as like flavor goes. It's more of like a texture type weird. And I know what most of this stuff tastes like. So I have these from an Etsy shop called Sweetie Treaty Company, right? And they're freeze-dried candies. Okay, so these, they're gummy worms, but they're freeze-dried. These have the consistency of a Cheeto, but it tastes like a gummy worm. These, do you know what these are? These looks kind of weird, right? These are Airheads. Like, you know, like the long stick Airheads, freeze-dried, they apparently shrink down itty bitty. These are my least favorite because that flavor concentrates hard. Like, super, super fucking hard when you freeze it down like that. These are what I'm gonna put in my mouth. These are freeze-dried taffy. So once you freeze-dry saltwater taffy, this is what it looks like. It's not like soft, like you can press on it, but it's pretty easy to like press hard enough and just like pulverize it. But what is really cool about this is when you put it in your mouth to eat it, it just melts like cotton candy. All of the things taste like their original counterparts, except for the Airheads, which taste a little bit more. And it's really fun. So if you are interested in having like regular candy, but with a weird texture, I definitely recommend their shop. All right, let's talk about Tell Me an Ending by Joe Harkin. Now, this one has a pretty cool premise. I want to call this an alternate future because I think it's set in like the same timeline we are, but obviously it's technology that we don't have. But they have technology where they can target memories and erase them. They use this as kind of a for-profit type elective surgery where if you were in a traumatic situation, say, this doesn't happen in the book, but you're in a car crash with your fiance and you watch your fiance die, you can go in and get surgery to know that you were in the car crash when your fiance died, but you don't remember any of the details or seeing them die, right? That's one option. The other option is you go in and you erase that memory, and then you erase the memory of ever being in there, so you don't know that you've ever had a memory erased at all. This has been happening for 20 something years, and that's why I think it's an alternate timeline, because it says it starts in the 90s and it's been happening for 20 years. That's the general background, and then to further on that for the plot of this particular story, there has apparently been a couple of issues. One, other scientists outside of this company have determined that there is a way to restore the memories, and this company knew that, but they pretended like it didn't exist until like other research forced their hand. In addition to that, people who had wiped their memories and then wiped the memory of wiping the memory, say that 5 times fast, a very, very small percentage of them were starting to like have PTSD symptoms or like side effects or like just flashes of memory, even though they weren't supposed to. This wasn't happening to people who remember that they wiped the memory, it was happening to people who didn't remember they wiped the memory. So this went to trial, blah, 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 and it was determined that everybody who had had a memory wiped and didn't know they had a memory wiped had to be contacted and told, hey, we've wiped your memory. And then they had to be offered to have that memory reinstated. Not like tell you what was in the memory, which makes more sense to me, but have your memory reinstated, right? That's the background of it. You guys get the idea. It seems like a pretty cool premise. That's probably why I picked it up, because I've never heard of this author before. I probably read the synopsis and was like, this sounds pretty cool. Let's try it. Kind of sounds a little bit like Recursion, which I didn't like, so I was kind of hoping that this one would be better. Anyway, it was not better. The writing itself was fine. It's the way the story was told that annoyed the shit out of me. This has 5 perspective characters, and each character from the beginning has like no relation to each other. They just live in this universe, and you follow their stories, and it's like each character gets a chapter, and there's 5 parts to the story, and you go in order of character. So you go Nor, May, Oscar, William, Finn. Nor, May, Oscar, William, Finn for the first 4, and then the last section is like kind of out of order, right? As far as you could tell from the beginning, none of these characters have anything to do with each other. They just all have different things happening in this universe. So Nor works for the memory erasing company as a psychologist. May had her memory wiped, which she doesn't remember having her memory wiped, but she's starting to get flashbacks of an event. So she's kind of like investigating like maybe why her memory got erased. Oscar's a young man in his late 20s, and he has absolutely no memory of anything before 17. He doesn't remember. He has like tiny little flashes of memory. He has no memory at all of anything that happened before he was 17, which is not supposed to happen. William is a former police officer, and he wants a memory wiped because he retired from the police because he saw like a tragic death, in like the picture of it like gave him like really bad PTSD, so he wants his memory wiped so he can like stop focusing on this tragic death that ended his career. And then our final character is Finn, and his wife had her memory wiped and didn't remember wiping her memory, so they want to like go in, or they're kind of like discussing should she get her memory, what he thinks she got wiped, etc, etc, etc. So far, doesn't sound bad, except for this is really 5 different short stories where you read part of the short story, get to a really juicy part, and then switch to a different short story. And you have to go through 4 other short stories that you may or may not want to read to varying degrees before you get back to that story. And then you get to read another, hit a juicy part, and then switch. And it's Like, there are literally 5 different short stories that are so extremely loosely connected at the end. Like, easily you could read one of these stories all the way through and then go back and read another one, and then go back and read another one. And this is particularly irritating because it's so long. By the time you get through the first 5 stories, before you ever get a repeat chapter from one of the characters, you're 20% into the book. And you don't like all the characters as much. I will admit that Joe Harkin does a very, very good job of doing 5 almost distinct writing styles. Like, I would have totally believed if you told me that was 5 different authors. But I didn't like all those writing styles. I didn't like all the characters. In conclusion to this little mini rant, I don't think overall that this is a bad book, but I hate how it's told. I really think it should have been a short story collection and not broken up like it is. As far as me recommending it to you, if it sounds interesting and you're okay with that kind of storytelling, then read it. And like I said, it is, like, I know there are other stories, like Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire is very similar to that, where it switches main perspective characters and you're following all these different perspectives. But this one is very, like, you get those exact same characters in the exact same order every single time. So take that as you will. If it sounds interesting, pick it up. If it doesn't sound interesting, then don't pick it up. Alright, that's it for this video. If you made it this far and want to leave me an emoji in the comments below because you don't have anything else to talk about, I got 2 options for you today. First, leave me a sick emoji for all of the weird ass foods that I tried in this vlog, or second, leave me a robot emoji for all of the science fiction that I managed to read this month. Anyway, I will see you this weekend for shelf 3 of Read Your TBR, and peace out. Bye.